Really excited tonight. This is the first Facebook Live we're doing with the Birding Life. We're really excited about this. And thanks for everyone who's watching. And we hope you've all entered the competitions. 30 days, 30 prizes. And we got a really cool announcement tonight. So just a reminder, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitter. The podcast has just gone live, so make sure you go give that podcast a listen. We're talking about the latest Birding Big Day, which is happening on Saturday. And the podcast has gone live. We've got having a good chat with Duncan McKenzie from Hammerkop and John Kinghorn from Indebele Nightjars. So it's a really cool episode. If you're doing Birding Big Day, make sure to check that out. And we encourage you also, if you are doing Birding Big Day, look for a way, support BirdLife South Africa. It's a great fundraising initiative for them, and it's really, really awesome. So tonight we're really excited. We said we got a special guest, and we got a really cool guest tonight. We are going to do the draw straight after this, but you want to stick around because this is going to be a really cool episode tonight, and we're going to have a chat to Roger Machin. Roger is the product marketing manager of Canon South Africa, and really excited. We've got some cool stuff coming up with them in the next year. We're really excited to work with Canon. We are all Canon users, just saying, and we are passionate about Canon, so we're really excited to work with them next year and just to really show the birding community what Canon has to offer. So we're going to give Roger a chance tonight. We're just going to chat about some of the products that they have for birders. And if you've got any questions, just drop a question to the comments of the podcast, and we'll make sure to ask Roger. So feel free to ask any questions. Roger's going to say all this stuff. He said earlier on, there's no question that's off limits. Just ask, and we will answer them as best. He'll answer them as best he can. So Roger, firstly, welcome to the show, and it's good to have you on our first Facebook Live on the Birding Life. And just to start off, can you tell us some of the products that you have at the moment from Canon that you think will appeal to the birding market before we chat about the product we're going to be chatting about tonight?
Okay, cool. Well, hi, thanks for having me. It's really been an interesting time this year. Birding's one of the things that's changed kind of dramatically and has grown exponentially this year. And Canon launched a whole bunch of really, really cool products, and some of them were almost like absolutely suited for birding. And obviously the big announcement was back on the 9th of July when we started talking about this little baby, which is the EOS R6. And we spoke about the R6, we spoke about the R5, but we also announced two really, really interesting lenses, a 600mm and that little baby, which you saw me holding there, which is an 800mm. Having an 800mm traditionally was a lens like, massive, massive piece of glass, cost over $150,000 and was well out of the realms of the average guy on the street. And this little baby comes in not only less than 20,000 rand, but weighing at like sort of 1.2 kilos, making it very, very easy to swing around and follow birds in flight. There's a bit of negativity. The market says, "Oh my gosh, it's F11. You can't use F11." I beg to differ, and I got a ton of samples, a ton of pictures that we've taken with this camera and with this lens at F11, which shows a completely new dimension to optics. And again, the mentality of having an 800mm lens, that sort of size that I can hold in one hand, that can deliver that kind of focal length is absolutely insane. And when you add it to the EOS R6 or the new R5, that not only has animal eye autofocus for the first time ever, we have bird eye autofocus, and it's one of those things that I tried to wrap my head around how it was possible for somebody to write the algorithm for bird eye autofocus. Every single bird's eye is somewhat different, and there's a nightmarish amount of birds that have eyes that almost disappear. And one of the first tests I did was with a black widow bird, and that's got a black eye with a black wattle with black feathers, black beak, and pointed this with that lens, and not only did the autofocus lock on the body, switch to the head, and locked on the eye within a quarter of a second, a minute, half a second. I couldn't understand, I couldn't wrap my head around it. I could barely see the bird, never mind its head and the autofocus locked on its eye. So it's a huge change, and it's a huge shift in the thinking to understand that not only is it possible to get a lens that's that focal length, that small, that light, and that's, you know, priced that well, but when you link it to an autofocus system that can find birds, anything from an ostrich to a hornbill to, you know, a flycatcher to, you name it, every single bird's got different shape and size, eyes and colors, etc. It is insane, and I've never seen anything quite like it. What it means for the birder and the bird photographer is not only the accessibility to big focal length at an incredibly good price, but the option of delivering incredible shots. And yeah, you know, bird in flight is one thing we all want, and tracking, you know, a big sort of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kilo lens. The smaller the bird, the faster they fly. You know, I've tried to shoot swifts and martins with a 5 kilo 800mm lens with very, very, very little success. But this baby sure dials up your hit ratio quite interestingly.
And then Roger, in terms of bridge cameras, a lot of birders, when they start off birding, they get bridge cameras. What does Canon offer those in the market for bridge cameras?
Well, we've got a couple of models on the lineup. Probably the one that's the most popular is the PowerShot SX70. It has a 65 times zoom, so starting from about a 20mm going up to about 1200mm in a very, very, very small package. It comes at a price premium, unfortunately. They're sort of in the region of 10,000 rand to get that type of optic in a small package. You don't have to go to that kind of degree. It's almost overkill. There's a couple of models below that, the SX540 or the SX420. Smaller build, smaller construction, but also subsequently either a 30 or a 50 times zoom, so a smaller lens. But it's very dependent on, you know, not only on your pocket, but also on what your actual needs are. You know, if you're really serious about it, you've got to go to the, you know, the big SLR type of things. But if it's more of a just sort of a casual snap and you're starting to get into photography, bridge cameras are fantastic because, you know, they start off automatic, but all of them have got manual overrides. So you can spend a little bit of time learning. You can then move from JPEG into RAW and start developing your technique using the bridge camera. So that when you do go to an SLR, the basics are there.
So Roger, the reason we got you on tonight was to chat about the Canon PowerShot Zoom. And when you first spoke to me about this, it was quite fascinating. You told me all about this little device, and I say little device on purpose. Like you said, it almost looks like a vape. It's that small. And when I first went and looked, I want to be honest, I was a bit skeptical, but I started looking into what it has to offer. And I really think that it has a lot to offer for birders. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to brag all about this amazing product. I know we've had a lot of questions, people asking questions, and yeah, the floor's over to you.
Yeah, cool. As you mentioned, it truly is a tiny piece of work. Yeah, where to from here is kind of the big question, because, you know, something that small is never going to replace, you know, the big cameras, the big lenses, etc. But it adds a new dimension to birding because it becomes something that you can have with you pretty much all the time. It's something that weighs, you know, 180 odd grams. As you can see in terms of physical size, you can have it in the palm of your hand and barely even know. You know, you're carrying something that has a 100 to 400 optical lens and a 2x digital extender, say, giving you effectively an 800mm lens. At the back of that, you've got a 12 million pixel digital camera, which takes photographs up to 10 frames a second in JPEG only. It's fully automatic. It's got an autofocus system that tracks based on the center point of the image, but it then also does full high definition video in clips up to sort of 9-10 minutes at a time. And it runs off a micro SD card. It runs off a built-in rechargeable battery, which charges from USB, either from a laptop or like a cell phone charger, and should last you about sort of 2-3 hours. So, you know, it's perfect for those walks, you know, where you're carrying a pair of binoculars and you don't really want to lug around the big camera and the big lens. And, you know, there's 2 or 3 of you arguing about an identification of a specific bird. You whip this out, zoom into, as you switch it on, it's at 100 mil. One touch takes you to 400. One touch takes you to 800. Hit the photo button or hit the video button, and then Wi-Fi it immediately to your phone. We're going to bundle it with an app for the first year, a BirdPro app developed by Herman van der Berg. And the BirdPro app is absolutely astonishing. It's winning awards all over the place as being one of the easiest to use as far as identification is concerned. And we're still working on the algorithms, etc. But if you do buy one of these, you'll get a year subscription to the app. And essentially what the app is going to be able to do is to take that image and with a reasonably high degree of accuracy, give you an automatic identification. Right now, it's good for Gauteng birds only, but by sort of January, February, I'm led to believe they will have pretty much the most of South Africa, and by April, May, the Southern African region. So all of those birds will be preloaded into the app, and you will shoot with this. It saves directly into a folder on your phone, and open the BirdPro app, point it at that folder, and it'll be able to do an ID. They need as little as 600 by 600 pixels to ID, and we're giving them 3 by 4,000. So there's plenty of info and plenty of stuff that's available for the app, which makes life for birders a totally different animal. How many times have you sat next to somebody and you're both looking through a pair of binoculars and you're going, oh, no, its chest is a bit yellow, and he's going, well, I think it's brown. And you're like, oh, I think it's red. Grab a snap, take it, and have the evidence, have an image at 12 million pixels on the phone, and with a reasonable degree of accuracy, having a good ID. So that's something that's, as I say, we're pretty excited about, because Canon's thinking a little bit out of the box. We could make an action cam, but GoPro owns that market. We could make a drone, but DJI owns that market. We could make a gimbal camera, but there's Zhiyun and DJI, a whole bunch of different brands that do that kind of thing. So we're doing that, which Canon optical technology in the 100-400 zoom lens, Canon's Wi-Fi technology in terms of connecting to the phone, and Canon sensor technology. And as you say, a tiny package. And as you quite rightly say, it's the size of a vape, but it's a vape you hold up to your eye. I noticed you guys put our promo video up a couple of weeks ago. I know it's cheesy as cheesy can possibly be, but it brings the message across quite easily as to exactly what this baby can do. And again, there's, oh, does it do RAW? No. What's the quality like? Well, it's great considering what it is. Is it as good as the R6 or the R? No, it's not. It's a 12 million pixel JPEG. For what it does and for what it can offer to the smartphone market is, and as I say, to have something in your shirt pocket that you can go with anywhere you like. The 100-400 with a 2x extender in your pocket, you can't beat it. You cannot beat it.
I know this weekend on Birding Big Day, we can be testing this thing and putting it through its paces. I know you're telling us a story about your son with that fin foot and just how user-friendly. Tell us that story about the fin foot and you with all your fancy camera equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. We were fortunate enough to be around the Olifants River in near sort of Middelburg, end of the world, about a week or so ago. And being in that environment, we were sitting eating breakfast on a deck, and it was overlooking the river. And I said to my youngster, keep an eye out on the reeds on the far side. Finfoot has been seen here in the past, and we both need it as a lifer. And my camera was sat in the car ready for the game drive we were doing later, and we were just out there eating breakfast, and he jumped up and he was like, "Oh my God, he can see one." Grabbed a snap, and we've got a record shot sitting eating breakfast on a deck overlooking a river of a lifer for both of us. So yeah, it's not the most award-winning shot of all time, but it was 100% capable of giving us the 100% identification. Yes, that is a very unique bird, not likely to be confused with anything else. But having that sitting on the table for breakfast in that kind of environment. Proved to be absolutely valuable. What an absolute pleasure.
And then can you change things such as shutter speed, your aperture and that kind of thing on it?
No, it's program only. It's point and shoot. That's essentially the mindset you have to get around. You can tweak and modify the images on your phone afterwards, depending on the software you have loaded. But it's an automatic camera only. If you're going on a night hike and you're picking up a nightjar in the road, you're still going to have to light that up, with a spotlight or whatever it is. It will deliver a reasonable shot, but it's not. There's not enough buttons for crying out loud. There's literally a zoom, an on/off, and a picture and a video. So in something that tiny, it would have been great to have lots of settings, but there was really no point. The mission was make it small.
So basically, how does it practically work? You basically, how do you get a photo when you actually use it? Because, you're speaking about the different buttons in it, but, when you see a bird on the field, how do you get the photo of the bird and how do you get it to your phone?
Well, it's quite a simple thing. I mean, you power it up, look through the viewfinder. You've got a standard electronic viewfinder like you have on a regular digital camera. The zoom button starts at 100, one touch 400, one touch 800, touch it again back to 100. Once you've got the framing that you want, half a push down on the photo button locks the autofocus and push and hold. As long as you're pushing and holding, it'll keep taking photographs at 10 pictures a second. The images are stored on a micro SD cards on board, so you've got them permanently. And then once you've got them stored, you open the app on your phone, the Camera Connect app, connect to the device via Wi-Fi, and just import the images like that. You can set it up to automatically transfer, so as you're shooting, the files are coming through, but that can slow down the camera. It's up to you. Essentially, what we find is a lot of people just snap, and then connect to the phone, go into the ID app, go into the software, have a quick look at the image on a phone screen, or even an iPad for that matter. And exactly the same for video. So if you hit the video button rather than the photo button, as long as you're pointing at the subject. The big thing that we found almost every single person who used it couldn't understand or couldn't wrap their heads around, it's got an optical image stabilizer built in. So you trying to hold an 800mm lens with one hand really steady, you're going to need stabilizer. And the one that's built in this is incredible. It really is amazing.
So we've got a couple of questions people have asked, and just I was trying to put it up there. Look in the other screen if you're not looking. So first question from Calvin Harris. We're talking about obviously going back a bit. Can we use DSLR lenses with the mirrorless bodies, and how do they perform? With 100 to 400 mil Mark II?
Okay. Quite simply. The EF lenses, the standard traditional DSLR photographic lenses, can most certainly be used with no restrictions with an adapter. If you do buy an EOS R, RP, R5, R6, buy an adapter at the same time. That converts the RF mount to the EF lenses. What it essentially means is all your lenses fit and work. There's no optics in this. It's purely a spacer between the old lens distance and the new mirrorless distance. And what you have, the new software, the new processing power on the cameras is so incredibly powerful. Not only do your lenses fit and work with no restrictions whatsoever, the quality that you get out of them is actually better than you've ever seen on any camera you've ever used. So that 100-400 Mark II works perfectly on the new R system through the adapters, and you won't believe the image quality you get out of it. It will just look better.
Okay, Dominic Naidu asked, Roger, what Canon would you recommend for a birder just starting off?
Yeah, it's a good question, and like we mentioned earlier, the bridge cameras are fantastic for people to get started. If you look at the PowerShot SX540 or SX70, again, it's very dependent on your budget. Start with the bridge camera and go from there. Obviously, your next step would be going to one of the cheaper entry-level SLRs. The SLRs are reasonably priced, but the lenses is where you're going to need the money. The most common lens is a 75-300. A 75-300 on a small sensor camera gives you around about a 420mm lens, which is okay to start, but you might find it a little bit limiting. The smaller the birds, the more elusive they are, the deeper they are in the foliage, the harder it is to use. And 400 is pretty much where birders start. So if you do buy an entry-level SLR with a crop sensor, start with at least the 75-300 kit lens. If you can, push a little bit further. Even if you go to a third-party brand with a 100-400 or a second-hand 100-500 or something like that, it's all about length. You have to understand that the bigger the focal length, the bigger the lens, the more it costs. The heavier it is, the more difficult it is to use.
Christy Horner asked the question: what is the retail price of the Canon PowerShot Zoom?
Okay. At this stage, due to the exchange rate, we're expecting it to land at about 7,200 rand. And it seems intimidating at first, but in the greater scheme of things, we don't have any competition. There's only one other product on the market similar to this, which is made by Swarovski, which is an 8x25 with a 13 million pixel sensor on the back. And that comes with a free bird identification app, provided you're in the USA only. And the price of that in the States is about $2,000. So our competition at 40,000 rand, this at 7 doesn't seem so expensive after all. Hopefully, if the exchange rate comes right, we're moving into a better time of the year. The exchange rates are starting to come down. I'm aiming to get it under 7 as a mission. But the big thing, the BirdPro app on its own is worth, $400 or $500 on its own, and having that as a package is a double whammy.
Suzette Vivier has asked, obviously referring to the BirdPro app, does it include LBJs, the nemesis of birders? I'm
reassuringly convinced by the developers of the app that it is incredible. The first demos that I've seen, that I've played with it, before we even added the camera into the mix, it was so encouraging, was so exciting in terms of what it was able to do. I'm going to say with absolute confidence, yes, it will be able to do LBJs within a certain degree of accuracy. There's a lot of things with LBJs that, oh my God, you can study for years and still have your doubts. I know this music. As a keen birder myself, LBJs are the bane of all of our existences. I'm very fortunate that I'm very, very good friends with Mr. Trevor Hardacre, and there's a lot of situations where my youngster and I will sit scratching our heads for half an hour looking at a picture, and then we'll just send it on to Trevor, and please help. The wonderful thing about the internet is that there's Facebook pages like yourselves where you can post a picture and say, please help, I think it's this. 9 times out of 10, the big birders like Trevor, they don't want to get a mail from you saying, tell me what this is. 9 times out of 10, I'll get a mail back from Trevor saying, what do you think it is? Which is, it's the best way to learn, I must admit. And when I give him an answer, he'll come back and say, you're close, but have a look at the beak, or you're close and have a look at the foot. And then I'll come back with a second answer, and you go, yeah, you're right. I love the fact that there's a lot of people out there, a lot of mentors, and I understand that you're one of those as well, that does exactly that for youngsters, for beginners, and for rank amateurs like myself.
Brett Markwell asked the question, how's the battery life?
It is a really good question. Canon's advertising on it says it's good enough for a football game. So the mentality of a football game is you've got 90 minutes. And in 90 minutes, you're probably going to do about 3 or 4 5 to 10 minute clips of video, and you're going to take about 70 to 80 pictures. From what I've seen on a standard sort of bird walk of 2-3 hours, it's not going to last that long. Bottom line is, it just can't. At the end of the day, however, because it's USB powered, there's nothing stopping you from investing in one of those types of things, a power bank. And having a power bank, you can actually charge or boost the battery while you're out there. It's quite hysterical because the power bank's actually heavier than the camera. But the mentality's there. We are advertising 90 minutes of regular use. If you're only taking one photograph every 10, 20 minutes and not rolling a video, you might get 2 hours out of it. So considering the size and the weight of it, it's pretty impressive.
Well, Roger, it's another question here. Someone asked here, is the Bird app specific with the Zoom, or can it be used with a cell phone?
Absolutely, it's completely and utterly available to anyone. You can go and get BirdPro App right now and use it as an identification tool. The automatic ID is still in development, so that's coming. And if you've got a decent enough picture that's close enough to the subject with enough pixels, there's no reason why the app can't use your smartphone camera. The biggest problem with smartphone camera is you're pinch zooming. And when you pinch zooming, you're actually moving pixels further and further apart. And there's possibly not enough detail on a smartphone camera of a little bird that's that far away. So does it work with smartphone pictures? As long as you're this far away from the bird. That's all I'm going to say. But as I say, the app is available now. And it's not brand specific.
I must say, we've used the BirdPro app in the field, and someone asked about the LBJ question earlier, not even using a picture. We were up in the southern Drakensberg, put the features in, and I was blown away that it actually got us the identification. So the BirdPro app is world class, one of the best apps out there. But Roger, what we were really excited about tonight, and we spoke about this last week, someone was saying they wish Santa's pockets were deeper, and it's really cool, and we said we're going to announce this tonight. But you guys are being very generous with the birding life, and can you tell us how you guys are coming aboard in the Christmas giveaway?
Well, absolutely. We love your Christmas giveaways, and we love the fact that there's lots of sponsors on board. And we decided we want to join in on that. So we're going to give away one of these babies.
Oh, that's super awesome, man. We really, really appreciate it. We're looking forward to working with you guys going forward also. And we're going to be testing them out on Birding Big Day this weekend. We're doing a video and probably next week going up. But Roger, it's been great having you on the show. We're going to give some prizes away now, but it's been really cool having you on the show, and we're looking forward to having a chat to you soon and just chatting about what you guys have to offer. So thanks for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I love what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. And really, really kind of you to have Canon and me personally on board. Love it. Looking forward to some lots of fun in the future with even more interesting birding stuff coming.
Well, thanks, Roger. We'll chat soon, eh?